Okay, so hi Rahul, welcome to mock interview. So
Okay, sir.
I have 4.5 years of experience in manual testing as well as in automation testing. So
Yes.
before starting, so let me give you some instructions. Okay, so this video will be recorded and later it will be uploaded in YouTube. Are you
Yeah.
okay with that?
Yeah. No issue, sir. Yeah.
Okay, great. So I can see your profile, which is in front of me. So you have 4.5 years of experience, so which includes manual testing as well as automation testing and using Selenium with Java. So first, let us ask some questions from manual testing, and then I'll ask some questions from Java and Selenium. Okay.
All right, sir.
And you have more experience on automation than manual testing. I can see 4.5 years among 4.5 years, almost 3 years of experience in automation. Okay. So
Correct, sir. Yeah.
I'll mainly more focus on automation testing part. Okay.
Yeah. All right.
So before starting, so can you just tell me about yourself?
Yes. So my name is Rahul Rajat Misra, and my native place is Chhapra, Bihar. I am currently staying in Bangalore,
Okay.
and I have a total of 4.5 years of working experience in software testing field.
Mhm.
And in my project, actually, I was responsible for automating the test script using Java Selenium, and in that we are using GitHub for storing the test cases, and we are using Maven for build testing and build management, and we are using Jenkins for test case execution, and Jira for defect logging and tracking, and we are following Agile Scrum process.
Okay, so agile process. Okay, so while following agile process, do you face any challenges? So do you find any disadvantages in agile process or any limitations in agile process?
Yeah, so challenges are like here frequent requirement changes happen. So managing all those things and meeting the customer expectation is a really challenging task. So we need to design our framework in such a way so that any change is coming in future, so that we can accept those changes and we can give the quality software to the customer.
Okay.
And also sometimes like if there is any communication gap,
Mhm.
that is a very real scenario because we have very frequent communication in the agile model,
Okay.
but sometimes due to like not proper clearance of the requirement,
All right.
that time also we get some issue.
All right. Great. So the poor documentation in agile process, we don't have much documentation part, so we need to be
Yeah.
able to get understand the requirement very clearly.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So that's great. Okay, so let us say you have a number of test cases and you're executing the test case on the application. So how we will ensure you tested all the scenarios on application?
Okay, so for that, we will see what is the acceptance criteria for that particular application,
Mhm.
and going through that acceptance criteria, we will see all the test cases we have automated according to the customer expectation, according to the acceptance criteria set by the product owner or not, and end-to-end functionality are working fine or not. All the basic and critical features should be working,
Mhm.
and whatever the business flow of the software is, that should be working fine without any defect, and there should not be any critical or blocker defect. Then we will say like we have tested it sufficiently.
Okay, and do you maintain any checklist kind of thing? So whether you covered all the test cases or executed all the test cases or not, how we will know that? And do you
uh,
maintain any kind of criteria or any kind of checklist, something like that?
Sir, currently, like we do have checklist. Certain criteria will be there, like the main functionality will be there. These functionalities should be working, and also like what are the expectations that we want at the end. The workflow of the application should be proper, but more or less, I'll say like uh, you know. We discuss all those things in a sprint planning meeting only, and documentation will be there for the important and the critical features only, and end-to-end functionality will be there in the manual test cases, and
Okay.
traceability matrix will be there, so we'll follow that.
Okay. Okay. Great. Okay, so while you're testing your application manually, so what are the various types of testing you conducted? So in your project, specifically in your project.
Okay, so in my project I have conducted functional testing,
Okay,
and then integration testing, and then system testing, and also regression testing.
okay. So what is an integration testing?
Integration testing is testing the data flow from the one module to another module. Like suppose two modules are connected with each other. So we want, if one data is getting created in the first module, so this should reflect in the other module. So we will verify that. And sometimes in integration testing, the data that is created in the first will be required by the other module to proceed the further testing. So this scenario will check in integration testing.
Okay, so have you done any performance testing kind of thing in your application?
No, sir, performance testing
Only,
I have not done.
okay, you only functional testing. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So have you written any test cases?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So while writing the test cases, do you follow any techniques?
Yes, sir. We follow test case design technique.
Okay.
For that, our test case will be extended and we can cover the maximum scenario. So in that, we follow boundary value analysis and error guessing and also equivalent partitioning. These are the different methods that we follow while designing the test cases.
Okay. 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 Great. Okay. So, right. So in your career, 4.5 years of experience, did you miss any bug, which is again in production it comes, and what are the necessary steps have been taken?
Yeah, so it happened like one time I missed one bug actually.
Okay.
That was in my first project. I have worked on two projects in my 4.5 years of career. So in the first project I was new to the organization, so that time I have missed a bug, and because I was doing manual testing only that time. So actually some data were, I cannot recall the exact scenario, but it was like some data need to be created in the other module. It was integration scenario and that data was not present, so I could not tested that in the other module. And so that was found in the later stages, so we have to hot fix that bug.
Okay. So what is the necessary actions you have taken? So as soon as you found bug on the production, so what is the next step you have taken on that bug?
So so as soon as you get bug in the production, so we need to fix that immediately, because it will affect the customer business flow. So for that we'll conduct a meeting and we'll see which bug is present in the production and how it is affecting the business flow of the customer. And also we'll we'll do the root cause analysis meeting, why this bug has come, and what is the error, whether it is in the in the coding part or whether it is in the testing part, whether the main error is. And accordingly all the team will sit together and we'll try to find out the cause of that error, and we will try to resolve it as soon as possible. Then we'll do the testing, retesting of that, and then we'll again move it to the production.
Great. So when do you perform regression testing?
So regression testing we will do once after 4-5 build this application main functionality, the basic functionality become stable. Then we will write regression test cases. Like for automation purpose, if I'm talking, so we'll write the automation test script once the application becomes stable. Then we will do the regression testing, because in the initial stage, like there will be less modules in agile process, less feature will be there, so that can be tested manually also. And but in the later stage it becomes monotonous task and it will also take more time to do the same testing again and again. And by the time the software becomes stable, so that time we will start automating the manual test scenario, what are comes under the regression testing.
Okay, so when you perform the regression testing, so what are the things you will be consider?
So the main thing that we'll consider while doing the regression testing is like what are the frequently used functionality, like throughout the application, what are the things that we are frequently doing it manually, and those scenario and the critical one, the smoke test scenario will first like what are the basic scenario, critical scenario, that will first automate. And for these some functionality that is newly developed, so that is not stable, some changes may happen that in that functionality in future, so we will not automate those things in regression.
So in the manual testing point of view, so what are the things you will consider? Suppose you have to do some regression testing on the bill. So before doing the regression testing, like what are the test cases to be executed during the regression cycle? And what kind of scenarios you will test during the regression testing?
Okay, So, sir, first, once the build comes, we will do a smoke test scenario. We'll execute all the smoke scenario, and then after that, we'll see all the critical and basic functionalities are working fine. Then we'll go in depth in the application, and then we will start regression testing, and like the sub module functionality and what are the internal functionality implemented. So that we will do first after checking whether the end-to-end main functionality are working fine. Then we'll go for the regression.
Okay, so do you ask anything to the developer, like if the developer is fixed something, so what are the scenarios are impacted because of those fixes? Do you ask anything about that to the developer?
Sometimes we do have communication regarding that, and
Okay.
sometimes because of if I'm responsible, I'm owner of a particular module, so I will be having knowledge if a bug is getting fixed in this particular module, so which module it might affect.
Okay.
So based on that knowledge also, we'll find out that.
Okay, great. So basically, when you perform the regression testing, first of all, you need to know what are the impacted areas, what are the bug fixes the developer has done, and what are the
Yeah,
impacted areas. So until
correct,
unless you know that information, you cannot find relevant test cases to be executed, right? So that's
correct,
the
correct.
important
Yeah.
thing. And before that, even sanity and smoke. This is also most important because build should be stable before testing the regression. Okay,
Yes, sir.
that's great. And do you know what is the difference between change request and feature request?
Sir,
Normally, we can call it as a CR and FR. Have you heard about these terms?
yeah. So
Yeah.
change request is like, uh, change request is unless the product is moved into the production. So before that, if customer is asking for any particular change, so we'll accept those change, and that time that change will not be chargeable. We'll accept those change in the agile. And the other term is like FR. We will if customer is asking whatever requirement he is given, so out of the box if he's asking something to do something, to implement something,
Right.
so that is confronted FR.
Yeah. So normally bugs, we can call them as a CS, a customer change request. So if there is any
Yeah,
bugs, we need to fix it. That is comes under the change request. Normally we can call, and feature request is nothing but like enhancement. Some
yeah,
features are requested by the customer. Okay.
yes, sir.
Okay. So let me ask some questions from Java. So how much rating can you give yourself on Java from 1 to 10?
8.
8. Okay, that's great. Okay, so just tell me some important features from Java which you use in your automation.
Okay, so Java features that we are using in automation is the first and very important one is inheritance concept we are using.
Okay.
So because in our automation framework, we are creating a base class and that we are extending in all the other test scripts. So there we are, writing the using TestNG basic configuration notation. What are the common frequently performed action on the web page? So that we are writing there. And also we are using abstraction because we are using some reusable methods we have created into the utility package, so that we are calling and we are not worried about the implementation of the method, how the method is implemented, and we are calling that method. So abstraction is there. And also in utility package only we have used overloading also.
Okay.
Because like for select, if there is a drop down, so for select we have implemented one method to select by id, the other method to select by string or visible text, so that we are using. And one important feature of Java that we are using in POM class is encapsulation.
Okay.
Because in POM class we are defining all the web element as private, and we making that class as public and setting getter and setter method to use those web elements inside our test script. So
Okay.
these are the main features that we are using.
Okay, great. So do you use any collections?
Yes, sir.
Work? So
Like
what kind of collections used?
mainly used collections are like we use set and list. Set and list we are mainly using. Like if you are going for find elements method, so in that case we'll use it, return type will be a list of web elements. And if you use get window handles, then we'll get set of a string. So these are collections that we are using.
Okay. So what is the difference between set and list in Java, especially?
So main difference between set and list is that in list duplicates objects are allowed, and in set duplicates are not allowed.
Okay.
This is the main difference.
Okay, great. So in Java, what is the use of final keyword?
Yeah, so final keyword can be used with class, can be used with variable, and also can be used with method.
Okay.
So if we are declaring a class as a final, then we cannot create child class for that. We cannot extend that class. And if we are declaring a method as a final, then whatever implementation we have given, that is the final implementation. We cannot override that method. And if we are declaring a variable as final, then we cannot reassign its value. At the time of declaration of that variable only, we have to give it a particular value.
Okay. So what is the difference between final and finally?
So final is a keyword, and finally is a block that is used in exception handling.
Right.
So inside finally, we write the resource deallocation code that is open as the part of the try block.
Okay. Okay, great. So let me just ask some coding related questions. Okay. So I have two numbers. I need to just find out the largest of two numbers and without using if condition. So how can you write the code? You can share a notepad and you can just write a small piece of code.
Yeah, all right.
Just use largest of two numbers and without using if condition.
Edit plus can I use or notepad?
Anything, no issues. You can use anything, any editor. Yeah.
Is it visible or text size is very small?
Can you increase?
Okay, 1 minute, sir. Actually, for a long time, actually in my entire project, I have been using, Eclipse. So this is after very long time, I'm using this.
Okay.
1 minute, sir.
And if you have Eclipse, you can directly write an Eclipse also, no problem. Whichever is convenient for you.
Actually, I'm more comfortable on Eclipse, but I can do that here also. So can I use Eclipse?
Yes, sir. Yeah, sure. You can.
All right, sir. Okay, so I need to take two number.
Okay.
And I need to find the largest of the two number.
Yeah.
This is the requirement, right?
Right.
Then we can use array to store the two number, and like say, will you give any numbers or should I take it by?
But basically array is also not required because just two numbers, right? So you can just define two variables.
Okay, you want me to do like that, then
like some a comma b. You can take two simple variables and then try to find out largest of those two numbers.
Okay. And I should not use if else condition.
Yes.
Okay. So that we can do. Like, give me 1 minute, so I'm just thinking the logic, like without if.
Yeah. So I can give you some clue on this. Okay. So do you know about something called ternary operator in Java?
Yes, sir. I know that.
Yeah, you can use that actually.
Okay. Actually, I'm forgetting that, sir.
No problem. So basically, if I say A greater than B question mark, A colon B,
Yeah,
that is the syntax. Okay,
yeah.
so there's a condition actually. If A is greater than B, then it will return A.
Yeah.
And if A is not greater than B, just return B. So that is obviously logic.
Correct. I can recall it now, sir.
Yeah.
For a long time, I've not used that. Correct,
Okay,
sir.
okay, no
Yeah.
problem. Okay, so I can just try some other code. Let's say I have a string as an input, and you need to find out uh, how many characters are in uppercase and how many characters are in lowercase.
Okay.
So I write a simple program and just define a string variable. Let's say in the string you can just store some welcome to automation, something like this, and you can just give some of them capital letters, some of them are small letters. Okay, so we need to find out how many are lowercase characters and how many are uppercase characters in the string.
Right, sir.
Is it done?
1 minute, sir. Almost done, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir, it's done.
Okay, so can you just execute and see?
Yes, sir. I have executed it.
Okay, so what is our expected result here is I need just find out how many uppercase characters and how many lowercase characters, right?
Okay,
So you
you
almost,
want to find count?
yeah, count.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
All right.
It will just print it all lower and uppercase. So we need to count. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
You can just modify this program actually. So you don't need any other variables. You can just make it lower upper as integers.
Yeah. Correct.
Lower and upper as integers, and you have written all one condition, right? So
Yeah.
if you just look at the condition in the So in the for loop, yeah, you find out the length, that is also perfectly fine. And you need to retrieve each and every character from the string and just check that character is greater than, you need to put two conditions actually. So one if condition is having, if the character is greater than A and less than Z, like
Yeah.
uppercase, then increase upper
Yeah.
value,
Yeah.
you can just put upper plus plus. And else if we can just say if the character is greater than small a and less than small z, and you can use, you can increase lower plus plus.
Yeah. I got it, sir.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Perfect. All right. So yeah, let me just ask some questions from Selenium. So because you have more experience on Selenium. All right. So how much rating can you give yourself on Selenium, especially?
On the scale of 1 to 10.
Yeah.
So I'll rate myself 8.
8. Okay. Even okay. Java is also 8. Okay. Fine. All right. So let me ask some questions from automation. So when you create a WebDriver instance, you say WebDriver driver equal to new Chrome driver. So can you explain that statement?
Yes, certainly.
Yeah.
So in WebDriver driver is equal to new Chrome driver statement. WebDriver is an interface, and driver is a reference variable.
Okay.
And equal to the assignment operator. New is a keyword to create a new object, and Chrome driver is a constructor. So basically, we are launching the uh, uh, Chrome browser by this statement.
Okay. Okay. Great. So have you used any wait statements in your automation?
Yes, we have used implicit wait and explicit wait, sometimes also fluent wait.
Okay. So why use wait statements? What is the use?
We use wait statement to, because Selenium is most of the time faster than the, the browser. So to do the synchronization between the script, so that if we want to perform click action on any particular element, so that element should be visible or should be loaded properly on the web page. So for that purpose, we use synchronization we are using to match the speed of Selenium with the web pages.
Okay, great. So you said like you use some explicit weights in your automation, right? So when you specify explicit weight, you need to have some conditions, right? So can you just tell me some expected conditions?
Yeah, so expected conditions are there are multiple conditions. Some of that I can
Just
remember is
yeah.
wait for element to be visible, and then visibility of element located by,
Right.
presence of element located by.
Right.
So these are some.
Yeah, great. So what is use of desired capabilities?
Desired capabilities is used to set the required whatever the requirement we have. Like we want to set the URL, we want to set the we want to open the window in incognito mode, say, or suppose we want to maximize the window. So desired capability we can use. Along with that, we can we use the respective browser option class.
Right.
And we can merge that capabilities, and mostly the desired capability is used in remote execution,
Right.
to set the platform and to set the window.
So mainly we can configure the what type of browser we want to launch and what type of version and what kind of operating system we want to execute or test cases. So those things we can configure by using desired capabilities, especially in the grid we use desired capabilities. Yeah, that's great. So what is a DOM? Document object model. What is a DOM? Any idea?
No, sir, I have no idea
Okay,
regarding that.
no problem. So you mentioned like XPath, right? So what is XPath? And how XPath will work actually? What is how it will work?
Okay.
Yeah.
So XPath is the path of the element on the web page and the HTML code. And XPath, there are multiple ways of writing the XPath. So once we'll write the XPath of any particular element. So in my project, we are using POM class. So in that we are writing the XPath using find by, find by, and find all annotation.
Okay.
And we are first declaring it, and then we are initializing it inside the constructor, and then we are calling it inside our test script. So,
okay. So yeah, that's fine. So what I'm asking is how exactly XPath works. So you have written some XPath which will able to identify the element, but how exactly it will find that element?
Yeah. So like whatever XPath we have written, so first it will go to that particular web page, the current web page, the current HTML document, and then it will look for the tag that we have given and the other conditions that we have given, either text or attribute or it contains method that we have given. So based on that, it will find that particular element.
Yeah, where it will look for actually. So you mentioned some attribute or something in the XPath, and it will go and look for that attribute. Sir, where it will look actually?
In the HTML code.
In HTML. Okay.
Yeah.
So that is not exactly HTML. It is basically DOM actually. So
yeah.
previously I asked one question, what is DOM? Document Object Model.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
HTML is a view actually. So whatever the code they have written for a web page, that will be reflected in HTML.
Yeah.
When you browsing the page, normally what happens is for the same HTML code, the DOM structure will be created by the browser itself. So XPath is basically work based on the nodes. So whatever the HTML code is, the same representation will be there in the DOM structure. So document object model, we can call it as a document object model. So XPath is basically works based on the DOM structure. Sometimes you may see the kind of exception, the element not found in the DOM, something like that.
Yeah.
Because XPath is basically looking for the elements or looking for the attributes on the DOM structure. Okay.
Got it.
Yeah, that's fine. And what is the difference between absolute and relative XPaths?
So relative XPath is directly we are going to that particular desired, in relative XPath, we are finding the element by just using the double forward slash that will go to that directly, desired element. And in relative XPath, we are writing it from the root tag to the desired element.
In which relative XPath you're talking about?
No, in absolute we are writing, In absolute, we write from the root tag to the desired tag. And in absolute, we directly go to that desired tag.
And which one is more preferable to use?
Relative XPath.
Okay, so why?
Because the first thing is it will be shorter in length. Because if you are using absolute XPath, so it will be very lengthy if the DOM is very, very big. So in that case, and also it will be faster in execution if we are using relative XPath.
Okay, so do you see any issues with the absolute XPath? Any disadvantages with the absolute XPath when you compare with
absolute,
the XPath?
Yeah. So in absolute XPath, disadvantage is like what I can understand is like I have not encountered any disadvantage, but performance will be slow if you are using absolute XPath.
Yeah, no problem. So basically we always prefer to use relative XPath. So the reason is it is not like it is a short or lengthy kind of thing. So basically why we go for relative XPath means in absolute XPath, it will basically navigate from the root node, right? So from the root node to our required node. So in between, there are so many nodes are there. So whenever some changes is happen in the web page, right? Some elements may be added newly or some elements will be moved to some place to another place, that will automatically impact at the XPath. So if you write an absolute XPath from the root node to the current node, some node is impacted, right? That XPath will be automatically broken. So that is a big problem for us, right? So it will not be constant and it will not be consistent most of the time. So that's the reason we always go with the relative XPath. Okay, that's the main reason. Okay.
Got it.
Yeah. So have you used JavaScript executor?
Yes, JavaScript executor.
So what is the use of JavaScript executor?
JavaScript executor we are using to execute the JavaScript in our Selenium script. So for that we are the main use is like if you want to perform a drag and drop option, or if you want to scroll the web page, So for that we are using, and also you want to perform any action on the disabled element. So in that case, we are using JavaScript executor.
Okay, so how to handle multiple windows in Selenium?
Multiple
Suppose,
window we can handle by using get window handles, and then driver dot switch to dot window, and then we'll give the window ID.
so what is the difference between get window handle and get window handles?
Get window handle will give you the session ID of the parent window, and get window handles will give the ID of all the window which is opened.
Okay.
So, and the return type of get window handles is set of string, where the return type of get window handle is string.
Okay, that's great. So let us say I have a drop down. So I have so many options are there. So how to find how many number of options are there in the drop down?
Okay. So for that, we can use select class method.
Okay.
In select class, get options method is there. So it will return the list of all the options.
Okay.
And then on lift, we can apply size method to get the count.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so how we can do the mouse operations? So what are the different methods and classes used to perform?
Yeah, so to perform mouse operations, we go for actions class.
Okay.
And in actions class, there are several methods like context click, double click, move to element, and yeah, these are the methods that we use. Drag and drop is also.
Okay, that's great. So actions is an interface or a class?
Actions is a class and action is an interface.
Okay, okay, great. Okay, so in the TestNG, so do you know about hard assertion and soft assertion?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, what is the difference?
The main difference between hard assert and soft assert is, if you are using hard assert, then if the assertion is failing, then the further test script, like whatever the next line is there in the same test, that will not get executed.
Okay.
And if you are using soft assert, then even though validation is failing, then the next line will get executed, and at the end, the result will be tracked by the in the last we will use assert all method, so that will give the result of the failure.
Okay. So in the testing, do you know about prioritization on the TestNG?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we have, yeah.
So let's say I have a few methods, test methods are created, and some of the methods are given the priority and some of the methods are not given. So when I execute those test methods, will I execute or not? Suppose I have
to execute.
If I don't give any priority to the test method, will it execute or not?
It will execute, sir.
Okay, suppose I have 3 test methods. Okay.
Yeah.
And the first method I have given a 0, second method 1, third method again 0. Okay, so there are 2 methods which are having 0 priorities, and which one will execute first?
So the 2 methods that is having 0 priority, for that execution will happen based on the alphabetical order, and for the other one according to the priority that we have defined.
Okay, okay, great. Suppose first time you have executed, let's say you have 100 test cases, you have executed all 100 test cases, and some of them are got failed, some of them are got passed. In the second round, you want to execute only failure test cases. So how we can execute?
Okay, so for that, inside our project, there will be a test output folder. Inside that we will get failed test cases only. Failed test cases.xml file will get. Using that we can execute only the failed test cases.
Yeah, that's great. So you said like you have involved in hybrid driven framework. So can you just explain about your framework? What are the components you created? What are the reusable components? How things will happen in your framework? Yeah.
So we are using hybrid driven framework because this is a combination of different framework like data driven, modular driven, and method driven. So data driven because we are storing all the data in a separate folder, and we are using utility classes to read that method. In utility package, we are creating file utility and Excel utility. So using those methods, we are reading the data. And modular driven because module wise we are writing the test cases for particular module, and we are storing that in a separate package. So that's why it is a modular driven framework, and method driven because we are using several reusable methods, and also inside the POM class we are creating the reusable methods for the common action performed on that particular web page. And talking about the components in my framework, we have a base class. So in base class we are configuring all the uh, common action that we are performing on the browser, and using TestNG configuration notation we are writing those. And also we have utility package. Inside that we have Webdriver utility, Java utility, Excel utility. In Webdriver utility we are writing the common methods that is required for automating the test cases, like select, wait for page to load, and accept alert pop-up. So these methods we are writing inside the Webdriver utility. Inside Java utility we are writing methods like get random number, get date. These methods we are writing. And inside file utility we are writing methods to read the data from the property file. And inside Excel utility we are writing methods to read data from the Excel sheet. And also another component is POM class. So in POM class we are creating classes page wise, and we are declaring those web elements as private, and we are initializing those web elements by using init element dot init element method we are using inside the constructor, and we are initializing those web elements, and we are declaring that as getter and setter method we are declaring in that class, so that we can access those web elements inside our TestScript. And also we have TestNG that we are using as a unit framework testing tool, and using TestNG annotation we are writing our TestScripts. And also TestNG basic configuration notation that we are using in our base class. And also we have a resource folder. There we are keeping all the driver executable files, and we have a screenshot where we are storing all the screenshots of the failed test cases. And as we are using Maven project, so there is the pom.xml file, that is the main controller. Using that pom.xml file we are executing our framework in the Jenkins.
Okay, great. Yeah. Okay, so and in the hybrid framework, so what kind of reports you have used? What kind of reports you generated?
So the HTML report we are using as of now.
HTML. So you want to use any other third-party reports like external reports or any LU reports, like something like that?
No, sir. As of now, we are using only HTML.
Only HTML report. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So how frequently you run your automation cases?
Like whenever we are getting the build, so if the build is stable, so that time first we'll run the smoke scenario, and then we'll run the regression scenario. So whenever we are getting a new build or any modification is done in the existing build, so that time we are running or before moving the build to the production, also we are executing all the automation scripts, and we are making sure that every functionality is working fine.
Okay, great. So how many bugs so far you found through automation? Approximately.
Yeah, so approximately I have, like personally you are asking how many I have found, or in the
through automation. So while you are executing automation, your automation also will find some bugs, right?
Yeah.
So some cases will fail. So approximately how many bugs your automation scripts found?
So sir, like approximately it was 120 bugs that we have found through automation script.
Okay. So how many test cases you have automated so far?
So so in my team there are 3 members. So I have automated like around 250 test cases in this current project. Yeah.
Okay, so total 250 test cases you have automated, and okay, so 120 bugs you have found through automation. So
not like personally I have found, because you asked about the whole automation bugs. Yeah. So personally I have found like 35 bugs, around 35.
Around 30 through automation.
Yeah.
Okay, right. And as soon as you found bugs through automation, how you will log those bugs? How you report those bugs to the developer?
So for that we are using Jira tool. In Jira tool we'll create the issue, and then the bug ID will be automatically generated. Then we'll give the bug summary and
Okay.
then description.
Do you
And
have
then
any integration scripts between your automation and Jira? Have you developed any integration scripts? Which
that
lot of,
is
yeah.
that is there, but that is maintained by DevOps team. So I only use that for reporting the bug.
Okay, okay, that's fine. So you said like a Maven you have used in your project. So what are the benefits you will get when I use Maven project or when you create a Maven project?
Yeah, so the main benefits of Maven project is we are using it for build creation and build testing.
Okay.
So that like multiple engineers are working on the same project. So if any modification is done,
Mhm.
so if that modification is breaking any feature, then we'll come to know easily using Maven project. And also in Maven, we are using dependency feature, so
Mhm.
that all the required jar file for that particular project, it will automatically download from the global repository to the local repository. And we are using plugins like Surefire plugins to run the TestNG.xml file through pom.xml file.
Okay. And you mentioned like Jenkins also you have used. So what are the tasks you have done in the Jenkins?
So Jenkins, I have created like task, and while creating the task, we have also configured like uh, uh, like configuring the global variable that is required for that particular task, and also like the plugins that is required in Jenkins to execute that task.
Mhm.
So that I have done, and I have mainly used it for the like executing the test cases through Jenkins to check like whether whatever scripts that we have written is working fine or not.
Okay. So how Jenkins will get the code, your automation
So
code?
yeah, so Jenkins will get the code, will configure that, and in the configuration part, we will give location of the GitHub location will give there, and from the GitHub it will constantly monitor the GitHub location, and whenever the build is coming, then when we are starting the execution through Jenkins, it will download that file from the GitHub, it will create the build, and then
Okay.
it will do the execution.
Okay, that's fine. So how frequently you check in your code in GitHub, on daily basis or weekly basis? And how frequently you check in your code?
So, like we are checking it almost on the daily basis at the end of the day, whatever
Okay.
code we have written.
Okay.
So, and yeah, if any review is need to be done, like if any other engineers is written, so the like we'll review then we'll merge it. So we are checking it on a daily basis.
Okay. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
good. Do you know any basic commands like Git commands?
Yeah. So Git commands is like push, pull, commit, and merge, fork. These are the commands that we are using.
Okay. Okay. That's great. Okay, Rahul, I'm done from my side. So if I just give me some, I'll give some feedback. So what you have done,
Yes.
and from manual testing part, so you have done well. So almost you answered all the questions related to process, different type of testings, and like real-time exact scenarios, and that is
Yeah. Yeah.
fine. And programming perspective, because you are as a tester, automation tester, so whatever you know that is fine to manage, but you need to learn a few more like logical related programs that will
Yeah.
help
Yeah.
at all. Okay, and the
Yeah.
logical
Yeah.
theoretical questions you answered well
Yeah. Yeah.
from Java side, but programmatically you need to improve a lot. Okay, you need to just
Yeah. Yeah.
see some logical related programs, so that will improve your skill set. And from Selenium also, and whatever questions I ask, most of them you have answered correctly. And yeah, so almost you have 4.5 years experience, means that is more than enough actually. So you have enough skills according to your
Yeah.
experience. And
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, that's good actually. And I asked also some questions about Jenkins and Maven and
Yeah.
frameworks, and you explained well related to
Yeah.
framework also.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good, Rahul. Fine, I'm okay with that.
Thank you very much for your
So
feedback, sir. And I will take it as a positive, and I'll try to improve whatever like
yeah,
in the Java programming
yeah,
skill logic. I will try to go through that, and I'll try to boost up my skill.
yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Rahul. Yeah, I'll stop here.
Thank you very much,
Good
sir.
luck. Yeah.
Yeah.